Welcome back. Busy day here in Parliament, but Liberal MP Michael Sukkar has found a way to get to the studio. We might hear some bells ringing soon, but for now, we'll press on with a few of the issues going on today. Nauru's been an interesting one in Manus Island, these medical evacuations, this push. What actually changes in this bill that's a big concern for you?
Well, anything that changes the settings which we've had in place now for 5 years very successfully, which basically have said if you've arrived here on an unauthorised vessel via boat, you won't make your way to the mainland and you won't be afforded the opportunity that others are through our special humanitarian program. So it's quite extraordinary here that the Labor Party would seek to team up with the Greens again to change what has been an extremely effective and successful policy. You don't change successful policies, and this is not about getting children out of detention. When we came to government, there were 8,000 children in detention. Now there are 10. I understand of those 10 on Nauru, 4 of them are earmarked for resettlement elsewhere. So there are 6. So this is not about children in detention. This is really about the Labor Party and their internal fight. They've got the activist left of their party who have really been unhappy with the support that's been provided to turning back the boats and Operation Sovereign Borders. And they're striking, and I think this is the first strike. And I think the reality is, and I suspect most Australians realise this, if you had a shortened Labor government, that would just be the first step. And then there'd be another and another and another in weakening Operation Sovereign Borders, which we know has worked so successfully.
This step in of itself, though, we're talking about temporary medical transfers, and the minister still has control ultimately. So even if this went through Parliament, it doesn't look like the government...
Well, Tom, the
minister can say no.
But we already... I mean, if somebody has a medical emergency, they are transferred. And we are providing very, very good medical treatment. I mean, that already occurs. This is much more insidious because the Labor Party, in siding with the Greens, opening up a sliver of light, I think, for people smugglers to say, there you go, Australia's lost its resolve. That's the first, sliver of light that they can see, that we've lost our resolve, and that then gives the people smugglers a product to sell.
This change
this was the issue under Rudd.
This change in of itself, again, temporary medical transfers, now the process at the moment, the department basically decides on it, then the minister can make the decision. This would be doctors, so health first and foremost, but the minister still being able to say...
Of itself, this sends a very strong message to the people smugglers that we've lost our resolve, that the Parliament has stepped away from what has been a very, very stable policy of Operation Sovereign Borders, which we know has worked. It's been very effective. We've got 8,000 children out of detention. And, it's a foretaste, I suspect, for what really the Labor Party would have planned if they were ever to be in government.
Well, they've been pretty steadfast on the other aspects of the policy, but...
With, as you know, Tom, with a lot of internal...
Well, this
angst.
is... Well,
I mean, the activists left of the Labor Party hate the support they've given Operation Sovereign Borders.
But Bill Shorten's been able to carry the day on this before, including at national conference.
And I think this is, to be honest, Tom, I think this is the activists left flexing their muscles, and as I said, it's the first step, and it's a very dangerous step.
There are religious protections around schools or the discrimination on students. Barnaby Joyce says that he'd have an issue with transgender students attending a single-sex school if their original sex was not the same as that school. What do you think of that?
Well, I don't know if that's really impacted by what we're changing here. I mean, what we're talking about is the ability under the existing Act, which is an ability that's not used by any schools. I think the last time you interviewed me, I said, Tom, I haven't seen an example of it, of a child being denied access to a school or kicked out of a school for their sexuality. That doesn't occur, but for the avoidance of doubt...
But it's gender as well.
For the avoidance of doubt... Well, no, there's a number of factors, and I think there's even pregnancy is one of them in Section 38 of the Act. But...
Because I guess at the moment schools can say, well, we're a girls' school only, a boys' school only.
Yeah, I think they should have that ability, shouldn't they?
Where would that go to the transgender element of it?
Well, I mean, it's very hard to tell. I think right now you'd have to have some pretty clear medical opinion that, you know, and I'm trying to think of an example here. I mean, imagine if you've got a student who is one gender in 1 year and then comes back the next year as a different gender. Now, I think there's an example where that's happened in Melbourne. I think that was accommodated by the school, but that was accommodated at the school's choice. I think in the end, it should be up to the schools to decide. Up to the school, so they would have that power? Well, I know of one case in Melbourne right now in a Catholic school, actually, where that student has been, has continued to be enrolled at the school, but it's at the school's choice. Okay, and that's where you'd like it to remain. I think that's a fair and reasonable approach. Craig Laundy apparently is through, well, not come out and publicly said it, but reported to have told Malcolm Turnbull maybe the time to be a bit more selective in his comments. What do you make of that? Well, look, Craig's actually a really good mate of mine, and I haven't spoken to him about this. I mean, who knows? I don't know what private conversations have taken place. Would it be a good one to take place? Well, all I know is Craig's a guy who's, again, he's a good mate of mine. He's a team player. He always does what's in the best interest of the government. So, you know, I take my hat off to Craig. But as far as any private conversations he's had, obviously, Tom, I'm not privy to them, and I think it's not helpful for me to tread on that territory. Well, without saying what they've said to each other, would that be good advice? Well, I think it's good advice for everybody that, you know, we should always focus on the Australian people. And, you know, once you're out of politics, I think when you look at former Prime Ministers, you know, John Howard's an exemplary figure on our side as far as always barracking for our party, always doing what's in the best interest of our party. If you look at the Labor side, I think Julia Gillard's been sort of an exemplary figure on their side of politics as far as always acting in a manner and in a fashion that supports the Labor Party in her case. So, you know, I'd like to think that all of us, at some point in time when we're out of politics, who have been beneficiaries of either the Liberal Party or beneficiaries of the Labor Party, as the case may be, that you continue to support them in any way you can. Very diplomatic, but I think I get your point there. Thanks, Tom. Michael Seeger, thanks for that.